2025 in what will forever be known as the ultimate season of shame for this Minnesota Vikings team. A 4-8 record right now. You have 5 games left. You're either going to finish 4-13 or at best 5-12, because I can see, especially if Jaden Daniels doesn't play, that the Vikings can beat possibly the Washington Commanders. But the way that they've been playing this year, even without Jaden Daniels, that would be a stretch to say that they could beat whoever Marcus Mariota or whoever the next guy up is. Yeah, I honestly don't see them winning another game the rest of this year. But you have fallen to the bottom. You have a front office that can't properly evaluate talent. You have a head coach / offensive coordinator, since he calls the plays, that is in over his head. He's stubborn, thinks he's the smartest thing since Einstein. In fact, going back and reviewing how this regime has done so far, talking about the head coach, I'm not going to say this is revisionist history. It's definitely, in hindsight, it's been there this whole time. The fact that in 2022, 11 of your 13 wins were by one score. And I thought, oh man, that just tells me that KOC knows how to keep this team motivated no matter how much adversity you have to face. This team, these players are going to fight for KOC no matter what. I don't think it was lucky at all. They won 11 games by one score, 13 wins total. This is a damn good team. In reality, looking back, you could say, oh, they're lucky. They just got lucky that year. It's unsustainable. And then you get into the playoffs and you shit the bed on 4th and 8. You fell apart. Can't show up in big games. It's a one-off. Who cares? 2023, Kirk Cousins gets hurt. It derails the season. Okay, fine. Not going to eat his lunch for that. 2024, last year. Okay, you went 14-3 with a quarterback that has talent and has been around the league for a while. He got drafted 3rd overall for a reason. And then, talking about not showing up in big games, you folded the last game of the regular season in an effort to try to get the number 1 seed and a first round bye. And then getting to the divisional round, you play. The NFC would have had to have gone through US Bank Stadium. That game against the Lions week 18, you flopped. Then you get into the playoffs against the Rams and you flop again. Back-to-back big games, back-to-back no-shows. And you're seeing what's transpiring so far this year. 4-13 or 5-12. But getting back to the front office. Recently, the Vikings waived Adam Thielen at his request. He wanted to get the hell up out of there. And I respect it. He got claimed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, not only can this front office not evaluate talent, they end up, in this case, burning a 4th and a 5th round pick for that Adam Thielen experiment. Wow. Trying to rebuild with, statistically, who is known to be currently in the last 25 years, the 2nd worst quarterback to start his NFL career. Right there, after him is Jamarcus Russell. And it's not entirely J.J. McCarthy's fault. I think the majority of the problem is based off of the offensive guru that everyone claims him to be, but certainly the offensive play caller in Kevin O'Connell. And how ironic is that quote that he said, a month or so ago, that I think that organizations fail quarterbacks before quarterbacks fail organizations. How ironic. This video is brought to you by Sleeper. Daily fantasy users sign up for Sleeper today. Get a free $20 entry with no deposit required. Or if you go the deposit route, sign up, get a 100% match up to $100. Use the promo code RANDY. Terms and conditions do apply. Check out Sleeper today. But I brought all of that stuff up that I just went over, knowing good and well that we are all very much aware of what has transpired. I brought this up just as a piggyback off of what I talked about the last video, the post-game video after losing to the Seattle Seahawks, where they got shut out, is that not only does this regime, the front office, the entire front office, and the coaching staff make an argument for B-Flow, but this coaching staff and this front office, they all need to be fired. So much so that I believe that you cannot go into the 2026 season trying to run it back and think things will be different. But the thing is that, especially if you go back to how the Zimmer regime was handled, I was the first one to call it out 3 years before Zimmer got fired, is that the Wilf brothers are extremely patient. You could say lazy, you could say patient, or whatever. They slow roll big time moves that need to happen. They will drag that thing out until pressure just keeps mounting. And it's so obvious that this team is failing. So speaking of that point, where how offensively your team is led by an offensive head coach, and this is one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the NFL right now, that what we're seeing right now is the exact same thing if you keep this regime a year from now. What we see now, we're going to see again. It's the same thing over and over. The Wilf brothers, they love to be patient, but I tell you what, man, hiding behind the Minnesota nice thing can only get you but so far. Once that pressure starts to come in, because it's real quiet out there, it's Minnesota nice, all of that stuff. But once that pressure gets there and it reaches TCO Performance Center, i.e., we've talked about this on this channel for however many years up to this point, and some other Vikings content creators may have done the same. But once it reaches big media, so for instance, we've got ESPN either today or yesterday talking about the mishandling of the quarterback situation by JJ McCarthy by KOC. We got Greg Olsen, that former great tight end. We got Greg Olsen talking about the Vikings offense and its struggles. He said, quote, "It's going to be a difficult week in Minnesota. KOC, he's built up a lot of good grace. He's built up a lot of credit. But KOC is going to have to face a lot of questions. If they can't figure out the quarterback position and really on a larger level, just figure out how to get some element of production out of the offense, because this defense is playing good ball. These last couple of weeks, they played winning ball, but it means nothing if you're just going to be completely inept on the offensive side of the ball." So we've got the handling of the quarterback position. We've got Greg Olsen talking about how the offense is just pure dog bleep and how the defense is doing well, but your side of the ball, you're supposed to be an offensive wizard, isn't doing a damn thing. That's just two things. And then we got on, going back to ESPN from Get Up, where Adam Schefter is talking about whether the Vikings would entertain a trade of Justin Jefferson. Ultimately, I'm going to let him say it in his words.
Someplace else, might they be willing to trade him for 2 ones, whatever astronomical package you might get for him?
It's an obvious question to ask today after a game like that. And today, I'm sure that is the way that he feels. Is he going to feel that way this offseason when they go out and add to that quarterback room? They're going to speak to him, I'm sure, at some point in time and get some feedback and input as to the player that he would want. It's hard to imagine that they would trade Justin Jefferson, but then again, a year ago, I would have said it's hard to imagine the Dallas Cowboys would have traded Micah Parsons.
Right.
And they did. I still don't think they're trading Justin Jefferson. I think he's clearly miffed and disappointed and bewildered by the way this entire season and offseason, losing Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, is gone. But I don't think it's going to change as much, and I don't think they're going to be moving off Justin Jefferson this offseason.
So the deal is, they're likely not going to trade Justin Jefferson, especially with the cap hit. I think the Vikings would take on a 47 some odd dead cap hit. Of course, they're not going to do that, but that's not the point. The point is, now that the voices are getting louder and louder, not just by the fans themselves, especially at US Bank Stadium, they're going to let you know how bad of a job that it is that you're doing. The fans are pissed off, but it's not just the fans. Now big media is getting involved. So for the Vikings, they're used to, as far as an organization is concerned, they're used to having peace and quiet, never being talked about. And that's how Zimmer got away with what he was doing for 3 years after I called out his BS. But once the voices start to speak up, it becomes what you would want to call, if you're the Wolf brothers, a distraction. We don't need this type of distraction. So maybe, just maybe, I'm hoping as the voices get louder and louder, especially with big media, that the ownership, the Wolf brothers, will finally get off their fat asses and make a move. Make moves that need to happen. If you're seriously trying to win a championship, the first ever championship in franchise history, you have to do something, because everything that's led up to this point has been right there in front of our faces the entire time. And the more that you continue to go down this path and keep doing the same thing, then you have no right to be upset about not getting closer and closer to that ultimate goal, because it is up to the ownership group to step in and make a change. The front office, including the GM, including the scouting departments, the head coach, most of the coaching staff, except for, I would say, Keenan McCardell, and hell, even Brian Flores, keep him on. But especially Chris Cooper as well, the offensive line coach. The bottom line is, front office, including the GM, coaching staff outside of a couple of names, they need to be gone, because you are never going to achieve anything at all with this current regime. And those are the facts. We'll see you next time.